I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we will call for the roll.
Certainly. Councilpersons Bear?
Here.
Dupre? Here. Ross? Here. Salcido?
Here.
Soar?
Here.
Tobin is absent, and Mayor Higgins.
Here. We are here for a presentation from the Hennessey Engineers and Administrative and concert order to talk about our sanitary sewers and our overflow. And so if you'd like to step up and talk, come on down.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and first off, thank you for creating this special meeting to discuss this. So what you have in front of you is the consent order. There's a couple other items that we're going to go over to talk about how we got through here, but our goal of the evening is to explain the ACO to the Council, which is an administrative court order, which is hopefully we can get to a point where we get an approval to be executed by the mayor and the clerk, and it locks us into basically a program to prevent us from discharging from the retention basin is the goal through there. And I think before we begin, real compliments should be given to the administration, the finance, and Mr. Kazoo's office in working with EGLE. The very first document you have in front of you is dated April 8th, 2020. That was our violation letter that we got from EGLE, basically that set this ball in motion through here. They identify 12 discharges that we voluntarily reported to EGLE through there, and they thought that at that point, it got to a point of being excessive, and they want to help us basically tighten up our own system through there. And so you can see those are the, some of them are quite substantial. I will tell you, midway down, there's a 20, or February 20th, 18, there's 130 million gallons. That's a real aberration. That was actually where we had a hole in the pipe and the creek was coming into our system. And we knew that because we were, during dry weather, we were running the pump stations. So EGLE understands that's not a normal discharge. So I don't want the council to think that there's anything occurring during that situation. But behind that page is the administrative court order itself through there. I'm not going to go through the whole court order. It's about 24 pages long. What's really the meat and potatoes of the court orders actually on page 7 or 5 is section 3. And that really identifies what we're going to do and the time frame that we're going to do it within through there. So the court order is put in place for 20 years. And EGLE understands that this is a living document, that we may have to modify it based upon funding sources, you know, what's occurring within the economy, things along those lines. So they do give us that provision through there. Where EGLE will not be very forgiving, though, is if we disregard the order. Like, it's one thing for us to tell them, you know what, we want to change this date from X to Y because of these reasons, but just not to communicate with EGLE would really be an issue. So what will happen every year when we create the budget in February through there, we'll come through with council and talk about what has to be completed under the ACO to keep us in compliance with the ACO. And if we request a hardship from EGLE because of whatever's occurring within the community, we have to identify it within that time frame to give them the ability to agree with us or disagree or come to some type of negotiated settlement through there. This is not much different from what was administered with Judge Fikens with the $400 million that was done at the Wayne County wastewater treatment plant through there. So, but I do want to, at the very end of the package, there are 2 pages, and the last one identifies page 18, and that's this page here. You can see where we have the breakdown. We've broken the ACO down into basically 4 5-year segments that allows us a little bit of flexibility to achieve the goals with the ACO within that 5-year period. So it gives us a little bit of time if we need a year to recoup ourselves through there, that we've got that ability to do that. And I think EGLE was pretty reasonable in their approach with us through there, and I think our eagerness to resolve this issue was definitely recognized by EGLE, and they awarded us 100 points in our Clean Water SRF project. They received 186 applications. We were the only one to achieve 100 points. And I think a lot of it's to the administration's credit, Mr. Kazoo's credit. I know the finances in here, to their credit as well. Through there, everybody, it was all hands on deck with this. As you can see from their letter, their violation letter was in April of 2020. Here we are in 23. It takes a long time to develop these things through there, and COVID hit in the middle of that. But the basis of the ACO is really based off of our capital improvement program that we established with James and the administration, that was presented to council actually before we got the violation letter, right about that same time period through there. But I'm here to kind of walk everyone through section 3, because that's really, I think, the meat and potatoes portion. One thing I will say as well is, with every ACO, they have to levy a fine. It's in the legislation, and they gave us the bare minimum fine of $5,000. They could have actually fined us quite a bit higher, hundreds of thousands of dollars, candidly. But I think they saw the work that's been done by the community in the past, actually 8 years or so, that has really made a difference in the system. And when we were here last Monday at the council meeting, we were talking with Mr. Kazoo that we did not have a discharge from the RTB. And the reason that is because some of the work, we're starting to see the fruits of our labor that we put into this system through there. But I'm here to answer any questions that anyone may have. A big component of the program is about $12 million, is the Lincoln and Emmons pump stations. They were built in 38 and 42 respectively. Those are critical infrastructure items. And if those were to fail, there is absolutely no doubt that we would have catastrophic flooding throughout the community through there. And that's why we scored 100 points. We're waiting to see where we fall within the funding list. That should come out in early August. And we are hoping for substantial loan forgiveness through there. So those stations are designed, they're permitted, and we're ready to put them out to bid once we get the loan agreement with EGLE through there. But I'm here to answer. I don't want to go through this and bore everyone with, I think this is kind of interesting stuff, but a lot of people might find it a little overwhelming, so to speak. But basically, we've broken it into 4 or 5 year segments, and that's how we're going to approach it. And the goal is, so everyone understands, the goal of the ACO is to study the system enough to tighten it up so much that during substantial weather events, we will not discharge from the RTB. That's really the goal of the system. And unfortunately, the system went through a few decades of a lack of maintenance and things like that, and now we're kind of paying what pennies years ago would have helped us with dollars today. But I'm here to answer any questions, or if the council wants me to proceed through that, or...
Anybody on the
Through
floor?
the chair, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir, thank you for coming up. When you say lack of maintenance, what years are you talking about in history of Lincoln Park? Not only in water, but in general, that you know of. Was it in the 80s that we?
I think it really actually started in the 70s when economic downturn happened, and there was a reduction in work staff through there, and but the regulations weren't as stringent then either. You know what we could discharge to open waters, things through there, and then we went through a significant sewer separation program in the early 80s. We found with Mr. Kazoo's office that what was proposed wasn't always actually done as put on plan through there, and so we're kind of reinvestigating those types of things. I don't think it was anything that was done maliciously or intentionally, but I think it were just budget constraints that resulted in that, and we're not alone. Lincoln Park is not alone. It's hit a lot of communities through there as well, very similar.
That's true, and I have a couple more questions. So, I got this document on Thursday of last week, right? So there was a violation in 2020, okay? There was a violation, we're not discharging whatever. So, going through all this, we have RDS, discharge by bypass eliminated, or Redundant Design Standards, CWSRF, Sanitary Sewer Evaluation System, SSO, Sanitary Sewer Overflow, EGLE, Department of Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy, ACO, Administrative Court Order, DWUA, Downriver Utility Waste, WRD, Waste Resource Division, NREPA, Natural Resource and Environmental Protection Act. I'm still trying to figure out what PPC means. So, trying to put this all together, we have a 20-year plan, right? So how do I explain this to the residents of Lincoln Park, this 20-year plan? Because we're talking about September of 2037, March of 2038, November of 2038, February of 2039, which I hope I'm still alive at that time. What's the plan to rectify this cohesive situation that we've come together now? How do we explain this to the residents?
So there's really a two-pronged approach to the situation. EGLE's concerned about two things. They're concerned about our ability not to contain all of our wet weather flow within the RTB. And RTB is a retention basin through there. And so what a retention basin is it's meant to retain water temporarily till the wet weather event has subsided, and then we can discharge it back into the sewer system, and the flows get treated at the Wyandotte plant, or the DUA system in Wyandotte through there. If wet weather continues to come into the RTB, we have to discharge that, and we have to notify EGLE, which John's office does, Mr. Kazoo's office does, every time. We have to do it within 24 hours and tell them that we had this much rain event and we had this much of a discharge through there. And they're also concerned about basement flooding. And what's happening within our system is, because we're so old and we were originally designed as a combined system, which means that street flows and domestic waste flows from our homes all went into the same situation. When there was an overflow, it just discharged into the river. This is prior to the Clean Water Act of 1972 through there. And so our goal that we worked with EGLE, which took us 3 years to achieve, is to develop a plan that will tighten our system, that will eliminate basement flooding for us, because it'll prevent inflow and infiltration into the sanitary sewer system, and then it will provide enough storage in the basin to prevent discharges from the basin into the Detroit River and Ecorse Creek. So there are really two components to it, is water quality issues for all of us within the Great Lakes to enhance water quality, and then secondly, to prevent basement flooding within our system through there.
Thank you, Your Honor. Final two questions. So, I know at the last council meeting, we had less discharge, right, going?
We had no discharge from...
Which was a good sign for our residents of Lincoln Park.
That's right. That demonstrates, we've done a substantial, and as the council is aware, we've done a substantial amount of investment And now we're starting to see the fruits of our labor in that regard. But there are things that we have to really reevaluate periodically. For example, when we went through a sewer separation program, we had many sewers that were storm sewers that collect street surface flooding go into the sanitary system. We have to make sure that those bulkheads, we call them, which are the division points, are still adequate, that they're not outside of their life cycle and things like that.
Thank you. My final question at this point, Your Honor. Back in, I think it was the early 80s, I don't know if you recall, houses in Lincoln Park had the sewer drainage going straight down the gutters to a certain area.
To the floor, to the footing drains.
And then I'm not sure what year they eliminated that. Now you had to have that cut off. You could no longer drain.
That was like 82, I believe.
Yeah. So what was the benefit of that for our residents when they said no more sewer drain from your roof is going to the sewer system in Lincoln Park? Enlighten me and the resident of Lincoln Park, how did that help the city at that point?
That reduces, so there are two components of sanitary sewer flows when you're talking about wet weather. There's inflow and infiltration. Inflow is a direct source of water, which a roof runoff is a direct source of water. So now when it went down into the pipes, it went into the footing drains, went right to the sanitary sewer system. It could generate so much flow because the rain event could be so significant that actually the pipe coming out of the house can't handle it, and it'll back up into the basement. So eliminating those inflows is substantial. And then infiltration is just where we have leaky pipes. We have pipes that may have been put in place 70, 80 years ago, and now they're kind of bending a little bit, so those are in, and we're going through and we're lining those sewers and things like that, which will make them a homogeneous pipe for 50 years and eliminate any blockage through there.
Gotcha. Thank you, Ron. That's all I have for now. Thank you very much. I want to hear that. Thank you.
You mentioned that the age of our pump stations. How is the average long as a pump station supposed to last?
We've done work on them. I don't want the council and the citizens to think that we haven't done work on them. But typically, an age of that type of infrastructure would be in the range of typically 40 years without a major rehaul. What we've done in the past is we've replaced pumps, we've replaced impellers and things like that to make sure they're functioning. But the electrical system's antiquated, the fuel source is antiquated, the backup generators not. We're having completely new systems put in now. And what that's going to allow Mr. Kazoo's office to do is see in real time during a rain event what the pumps are doing, as opposed to actually physically going there and actually seeing what's going on. So Mr. Kazoo has to send people to these stations to figure out what's going on, to make sure we have a good understanding within our system that we're not flooding people out through there.
Okay. And the other question I asked, the amount of water that's coming in and the storms of late have been, I'm hearing 1,000-year storm, 100-year storm. Are the new capacity going to be able to handle that?
No, we can't design for all storms through there. I want the council to be aware of that. That if in 2014, a huge storm came through all of Metro Detroit. Southgate flooded out 2,300 homes. I don't think we got hit nearly as hard because we were not in the cell. But at that point, we had 2.15 inches of rain in 15 minutes. That's like a tropical rain. It's not, systems are not designed for that. This system will bring us up to the design storm that EGLE imposes across the board through there. Once you exceed that storm event, we may be susceptible to issues within the system.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
Through the chair, if I could. Mr. Hennessey, do we have to report the discharge stopped here on the date of this letter from March the 28th, 2020? Do we have to update that for this?
No, we put it covers, because the ACO gives us a little bit of coverage under EGLE, and it actually does protect us from future lawsuits for basement flooding, because we have gone into an agreement with EGLE to create a corrective action plan, is really what we've done. But it covers all of our violations through there, so that we cannot be re-sued from EGLE from anything that's occurred since this letter through there.
Okay.
And our council president did a good job at telling us a lot of what these shortened definitions are.
The whole world is acronyms with EGLE.
Can you tell just for people at home who will see this later what EGLE is?
Yeah, EGLE is the environmental, it's the Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. It used to be the MDQ, it was just recently changed through there, so it stands for Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy.
Any questions? Go ahead. Okay,
Your Honor, through the chair, I have a question.
sure.
Since I believe we have some DPS employees in the stands here, when there is a flood event or a rain event, what are the calls from the residents? And sometimes perhaps they're unfounded, but what are their findings? Like perhaps they had crack in their basement wall that made the leak, or...
There's a lot of ways water can come into a basement, and you bring out a good point. So what happens is there's a footing drain around the exterior of the house below the basement, and water can come down the side walls of the basement so quickly that water will elevate up along the side walls, and water can actually come in between the footing and the wall. When the house is built, it's built with a footing, and the wall is placed on top of it as a separate pour. It's not a monolithic pour, and you can actually have water come in through the sides. And Mr. Kazoo can answer this as well. When there's house flooding, or people call about that, the DPW will go out and we'll check both upstream and downstream manholes to see if we see surcharging in the manhole. And if we don't see surcharging in the manholes, that's usually an indication that it's something within the homeowner's purview. It could be roots within the lead. Those are 3-foot crocks that are often put together. The tree roots gravitate towards because there's a water source and then there's a nutrition source with the carbon from the domestic waste that comes through there. But if we see surcharging in the system, then we know we have a problem with our system.
Well, that's why I wanted someone from the DPS,
Yeah.
or Mr. Kazoo. How do you tell a resident that, I'm sorry that this flooding in your basement wasn't due to excessive rain, it was due because of some other situation? Because that's what I get, question-wise.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A lot of times when we get those calls, as John has already indicated, we'll go in, we'll check the downstream manhole and also the upstream manhole. And if we don't see any surcharge on either one of those, we'll try to go back to the homeowner, and if they're at home, we'll let them know that our system appears to be flowing properly. What you need to do is probably make contact with a private plumber. And what we have found is, as John has already mentioned, it could be simply, it's inundated with roots, maybe from their own tree. And most people don't know that the recommendation is have your sanitary service cleaned out. Let's say if you know you've got a tree here and a tree here, have it gone through and cleaned out every 5 years, whether or not you think you have a problem. Another item is they can put what they call copper shavings. You can get that at ACO. Flush it down about every 6 months. And I don't recall, but I'm going to say the copper shavings is probably $3 or $4. That helps kill the roots. The other thing that we have found is if we go in and televise our sewer with our camera, we can turn the camera and look up probably about so far into somebody's service lead, and we can tell whether or not that service lead is still connected, or if it's failed, or if it has dropped. And if it has, a lot of times soil will fall down in there and block that service lead. And with the age of the sanitary service leads, that's one of the biggest problems. It's a homeowner's own sanitary service lead problem.
Thank you. Stay there one more second. Final question, just so you know, I want to let the residents of Lincoln Park know that in August and February, I have my main drain going back to the sewer snaked out because the houses behind me in the alley, there's like 4 trees. They're not my trees. However, I have to have it done. First week of August, I'm having them come out, even though I have no issues. They have to stake my drain because of the ongoing roots. And in February, when they came out, because my bathroom backed up in the basement, and I had sewage come up, it was because they said it was an abnormally warm winter where the roots were still growing. So, hopefully residents snake your drains on a regular basis. Can you comment on that?
Other than, that to me is like preventative maintenance. We know that happens, and a lot of the service leads underneath the basement are 6, 7, 8 feet in depth, but then we, as a city, have sewer mains that are 9, 10, 15, 20, 28 feet deep. And those private service leads have to go down to these mains to get rid of the sewage.
Thank you, John, and I just want to, hopefully the residents hear that, because like I said, I don't want to do it, but twice a year I get my main drain snaked because of roots from other trees in my neighbor's yard. Thank you.
To the chair?
Yeah.
Where's the main service leads at the home? In most cases.
Most cases in Lincoln Park, I'm going to say probably 97% of them go out the back of the house, toward the back fence. We have some that go out the front, out to the roadway, where we may have a sewer underneath the road that they drive to and from their house, but most of them are in the backyards.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I don't want to take over this meeting, but I can tell you this, back in the day when Lincoln Park was first growing, we all had alleys, right? I know my house on Mill Street, my house on Wilson, my house on Riverbank, those are alleys. That's where the sewer lines are. And people don't know this, but I assumed half of the alley, and so the neighbor behind me assumed half the alley. And if you really think about it, that's where the main sewer line is in my neighborhood. It's in back of the house where my neighbors have their trees, and unfortunately, I have to snake out my drain. So hopefully that enlightens a lot of the residents, take care of that maintenance, and you'll maybe have less backup. So once again, thank you, and I don't want to take over this meeting, but I'm just telling you from past experience, have preventive maintenance in progress. Thank you.
Again, I ask, any more questions? Okay. Whereas the city of Lincoln Park has been notified of certain violations in the operations of their sanitary system, and whereas the city of Lincoln Park wishes to resolve those violations, and whereas Hennessey Engineering Incorporated has been working with the Department of Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy, EGLE, to prepare an administrative consent order, the ACO, to correct the violations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Lincoln Park agrees to resolve the violations by entering into a ACO with EGLE as presented. Be it further resolved that the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized to execute all necessary documents to approve the ACU.
I'll move.
Through the chair, Your Honor, once again, was there a budget impact on this resolution? Do we know any monetary issues that we may want to talk about?
We anticipate that the ACO is approximately $38 to $40 million in $23 as we sit here today. We have received 100 points in the Clean Water SRF package, which we put in $15 million, which includes the 2 pump stations and some additional lining through there to tighten the system up. We will learn in August whether how much loan forgiveness that we will receive. We're anticipating at a bare minimum 30%, which would, so out of the 38 to 40 million, 15 million would be in this chunk through there. We could achieve the first 5 years. Some of these things within the order, we're actually going to do early because we've just got some latitude because of the money that was put through there, but we'll come back in front of the council every time that we have these, but we'll just have to present it as we go. And we hope that additional funding comes available. We're going to bird dog all these grant opportunities that are available to us, and there are a lot available to us, and the ACO elevates us compared to other folks when we are on the rating scale.
Thank you very much.
James, would you like to comment any on that as well?
Well, yeah, as we've been talking, we've been working through this for, the better part of 3 years now. And the numbers that Mr. Hennessey just provided, those have been numbers we've been working with all along. When we went through and did the rate study, those were the numbers we were using. As we've been going through and doing the capital improvement plan, those are the budget numbers we've been kicking around. So none of this is a surprise. It's not great, but this gives us a lot more flexibility with moving forward to address these issues.
Sure.
It's better than trying to fight against EGLE on this.
Gotcha.
I'll say that.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Then we will call for the vote.
Councilpersons Ross?
Yes.
Dupre?
Yes.
Bear?
Yes.
Salcido?
Yes.
Zor?
Yes.
And Mayor Higgins?
Yes. And even if this is a special meeting, we do have some other things we're going to take care of tonight. Resolved at the study session regarding the blight enforcement schedule for Monday, August 7th, 2023 at 6:30 has been canceled.
I'll move.
I'll support for discussion. We have to have a call to vote, or we discuss?
No, we can do a discussion now.
Why was this canceled, out of curiosity?
At the request of John Myers, I believe he wants to come back and provide a better update. We're looking at actually rolling everything out on August 7th. He's not certain he'll be able to prepare something for the August 7th evening while trying to roll out the code enforcement program. So he requested we push this out and come back and provide just an update on how the program rollout is going.
So if we don't cancel this tonight, will you be prepared next council meeting to come up with a blight program?
Well, we've come up with the blight program. We've had study sessions on that. I think he just wasn't going to be able to prepare a presentation.
Does he
for
have a
August
date
7th.
for this then?
I think what he's wanting to do is, he wants everything to be set up and ready to go when he comes back up to the meeting.
I got you. All right,
And
thank you.
the rooms will be built, everything will be done, ready to go.
All right. So I want
so
to hear,
he-
the resident Lincoln Park, it's coming forward.
It's coming, it's just,
Thank
Coming.
you very much.
it's late now.
Through the chair, just if I could make a
Yes.
couple comments, and I'm sure that part of it is, there's going to be bumps in the road. And there are things that we're going to have to work through. So maybe he'll come back and say something isn't working and we have to adjust.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ross.
Hearing nothing else, I'll call for the vote.
Councilpersons Ross?
Yes.
Salcido?
Yes.
Bear?
Yes.
Dupre?
Yes.
Zor?
Yes.
And Mayor Higgins?
Yes. And I also like to say, before I say the next one, I want to know that normally that you have to have your time in to get something done from the clerk's office, and because we're having a special meeting, the clerk went over and beyond and got this up so that these people can have their party. So I want to thank the clerk ahead of time. Resolve that the residents of O'Connor between Washington and Grant be granted a permission for a block party on Saturday, August 5th, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. under the following conditions: that the street will be barricaded at each end and closed to vehicle traffic, that the party will be over at 9 p.m. or dusk, whichever comes first, and the street be reopened to traffic per recommendations of the police department.
I'll move.
I'll support with discussion. Because I'm in a talking mood tonight.
Okay.
So we under discussion?
We are under
So if the county or our city clerk could advise our residents, if they want to have a block party, what is the proper procedure? If I want to have a block party October 1st, what do I do?
You would need to
have a petition completed and signed by all of the neighbors, and bring that petition into the city clerk's office not less than 3 weeks prior to your event.
3 weeks prior.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay?
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, and then with that, I will call for the vote.
Councilpersons Ross?
Yes.
Salcido?
Yes.
Bear?
Yes.
Dupre?
Yes.
Zor?
Yes.
And Mayor Higgins?
Yes. With that, I will ask for if there's any of the citizens that would like any communications. Seeing no one running up to the podium, I will resolve that the meeting be adjourned.
So moved.
Support. Councilperson Salcido?
Yes.
Dupre? Yes. Bear?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Zor?
Yes.
And Mayor Higgins?
Yes.
I had to talk loud for that one.